Yay Media Group.
Welcome to a brand new episode of the Fitish Podcast. How's everyone's summer been? I think the kids go back to school next week. Not here, not in Mexico City, but most of my friends' kids are like they're doing all the back to school. Like
I
it's
bet they're
this week,
bummed.
next week. What, the parents or the kids?
The parents.
You think? I don't know. I think the parents get excited as the kids
I
get
was
older.
being sarcastic.
Oh, I'm not catching your humor. Yeah, I think parents are excited. I've liked having Remy. I think he's at an age right now, like for us, we feel good about him being home. We're gonna try and take a little vacation next week for a week because we haven't taken a vacation this summer. But we were talking, a lot of our friends are like, are you going anywhere this summer? And Fran and I are like, well, we've gone a lot of wheres. We've gone a lot of,
We live in a constant vacation.
I wouldn't say, I've been working since like 5 o'clock this morning. I don't think I live in a constant Why are you rolling your eyes?
Because we do live in a constant. Yeah, you woke up at 5 and this morning, but we live abroad. We live in a beautiful place. You don't have a 9 to 5. You can work whenever you want and stop working whenever you want. That's pretty.
Yeah, I
it's
have a 5 to 5. Yeah. No,
Oh,
no,
yeah.
that's true. I don't think I live in I don't feel like I live in a constant vacation, but I feel that when you move abroad, you don't, and also the weather here is so great that it's like kind of chilly. I'm in a sweater. Like
I'm in a jacket.
yeah, I don't feel the need. Like when we were living in Texas in the summer, you're like, I gotta go somewhere for a week. Like it's so hot. I'm so tired. I think we've had so much movement in the last year. That's why I feel like we haven't needed a vacation. So if you're ever curious, if you move abroad and you still feel that urge to like travel and all the time, no, you don't. I don't know how long this is going to last, the feeling, and I guess until you spend years somewhere and then you start to want to travel more. But it does fix that. It scratches that itch, I think, of
Wow.
and everything's new. That's what I said to some friends here. Like I can like go to a new restaurant or go somewhere new. Like the city's so new to me that I feel like I am kind of living, not the vacation mentality, but like a travel mentality where everything feels new to me. Every day could be like a new adventure if I wanted. Whereas when you live in the same city for a long time, you don't feel that way as much anymore. But anyway, yeah, the kids don't go back to school here till the 1st of October, which is interesting. So we got some time.
Not first of October or September?
1st of September, sorry, 1st of September. So yeah, about a month after, but they stayed a month later as well.
Yeah. No, I think we are not in any near to any experience where we're happy for him to go back to school. However, he's really excited to go back to school.
He is excited, and we decided after weeks of dragging our feet to put him in a summer camp, which is just, the same hours as school from one of the teachers at school. He's been really loving it, and he didn't really want to go. And at first, Fran was like, he doesn't need camp. And after 2 weeks of him being home with like no other childcare other than Fran and I and my mom, I was like, hey, so I need to work. I love my son and I'm like, I don't want to feel like a bad mom, but like, I also really need to work. Like, it's true, right? Like it's only like 4 or 5 hours. I'm like, I need to work. I would love to be in a place, I think. I used to think I would never like it, that I was like, I could never not work and just like mom. I think I could. I think I could just mom.
I know.
Not the best time
We're working hard on that.
Not the best time to say that as like I launch a whole new, business within my business right now that I think that's what's been taking up so much of my time. I was like, I need to work. Like I need to go, which is what I've been doing. Trying. Thanks to everyone who has ordered. Actually, I think it's a good moment for Fran to issue an apology.
I have nothing to apologize about.
Really?
Well, in the our
That's
last
the approach you're gonna take?
in the last segment, in the last episode, I said jokingly that I heard this saying that I jokingly liked that says, nothing tastes as good as skinny feels.
Yeah, everyone's heard that. Right. Everyone.
Correct. So I said it, and I apologize if I offended anybody with by
It
saying
wasn't just
that.
that. You said stuff about how women are getting more pregnant because they've lost weight and they're more sexy and they're more confident, so they're having more sex. You said a lot of things that weren't based in fact. Now, look, Fran and I, this is the danger here, is that y'all get to watch and listen to us have like very random conversations. Sometimes these aren't
Candid.
scripted. And so they're not scripted. And Fran and I don't share the same feelings and beliefs about a lot of things, right? And it's not even that I'm trying to distance, because we got a message, actually more than one, from a customer or two that were hurt by that. And I think it makes a lot of sense in what I tried to relate to friend. Of course, like I immediately apologized because I was like, I hope you know, like I don't agree with that statement. I mean, I mean, I agree. I understand where you come from in the sense of like, you do feel, you know, better when you
It's
lose
just
weight.
this is the tough part, and I think I want your also
What?
opinion. You cannot,
I
like,
wasn't
we're
finished
going so
talking.
censored, so like we have to be so limited to take care of people's emotions and feelings. Like, I'm not trying to say anything or ever try
I'm
to
sorry
say
I brought up. I
anything.
actually thought he was going to apologize. So that was for me not plan. I thought he was going to actually be like kind about it. I didn't know it was going to go this direction. So sorry about that. I understand that we live in a world where people are sensitive, but I think you also have to understand that weight is an incredibly understandably sensitive subject for women that have gone through eating disorders and have gone through a lot in their past. So when we get very cavalier about conversations about weight loss, it can strike a chord. And I don't think in any way, she wasn't even writing us saying she was
And I'm
like, no, but
apologizing.
she wasn't writing in any way being like really mad. She was actually really reasonable and was just shedding light on the fact that she felt it was like insensitive because it really stirs up a lot of like problems that she's had with weight, that she has been, you know, doing these medications and it's been life changing for her. But I think that's what's hard, is when you haven't grown up with the experience of a weight problem or dealing with
I was
issues.
overweight when I was a kid.
Okay. I'm just saying, like, yeah, you could sit there all day long and be like, yeah, everyone's so sensitive. Okay. But we have to cater to that because,
Of
like,
course.
there is an element here.
What I was trying to say is that I nothing I've say on this podcast is ever meant to offend anyone. I I love our audience. I think I'm very thankful that we have an audience.
I don't think most things
And
people say are meant to offend.
I none of what I say it's meant to offend. It's jokingly. I make a lot of jokes, and if I make ever a joke that hurts your feelings, I will make sure to apologize about that because I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings.
I think it's a good moment that happened for us because it's a reality of the world that I do think people that have had a certain experience have a right to feel however they want to feel about the conversation, right? I think that's the deal with having a platform and having a podcast. I think, unfortunately, I mean, for you, that opinion, like, of, you know, I'm not trying to offend anyone. I think we hold a certain responsibility, or at least I've always felt this way from the radio and having a platform, that sure, I could sit here all day long and like share really strong opinions about politics or religion or other things, right? But you don't do that because at the end of the day, it's alienating and it's hurtful, and not everyone shares the same opinion. And it is business at the end of the day. Like, I want women to feel, I've always wanted to offer them a place where they feel comfortable and welcome sharing, like, things that they feel may have previously been shameful or that they're embarrassed of. And so I'm just, but you know, I'm so much more of a feminist like advocate in that way, because it's like, yeah, I may laugh at your joke or be horrified by your joke, but like, I do care about, you know, and I know you, I mean, I know you care about my business and customers too. I think it was just like an important moment for us to be like, yeah, we can't be cavalier about conversations about weight. I'm not trying to be. I was like distancing. I was like, no, because there's like medical reasons also behind why people that lose weight are conceiving more, that aren't just like the vanity related ones. And so I think it's an interesting area in general. I hope you can't hear that vacuum cleaner right now.
I hope not.
But anyway, I was really just trying to jokingly bring it up and say Francisco owes everyone an apology. And then that just went,
No, no, no. I don't think it went like that. I think it's just very important to
he's doubling down. No.
understand that I don't say anything with an ill intention. And I said that jokingly because I feel like we're in a safe space. So I do apologize if I hurt anybody's feelings by saying that women are getting more pregnant because they're having more sex because they do feel sexy and they feel like more sexual, which I still think that that's case in some cases because you've told me that when you're skinny you feel sexier and you feel like having more sex. So I relay my own experience and spread it. I'm not a professional, I'm not a psychologist, I have no background or fundament or foundation to
Make these opinions.
make any of these opinions as factual. This was a joke.
Moving on from that, thanks to everyone who's had interest in the new FitishRx platform. We're live. I always share it with y'all first. And, working through some kinks with the telehealth and kind of what that looks like. It's such a big venture for us, but we've had a lot of orders and I'm just really excited about it. I was telling Fran, I just got off the phone before we started recording this with someone that works for a publication, like more fashion related PR, kind of doing what they do is like kind of they call it a desk side, but it's where you just have like a nice conversation. It's not really a formal interview about the product and about what's going on. So she seemed to be, very excited about it. I think that the space is really exciting. And the more research and friends I talk to that have ordered from different companies too, we kind of realize like all of these companies are founded by men or run by men. So most of the products that are more popular are like for men. But also the issue that we were finding, and maybe y'all can speak to this, is that when you're ordering from some of these other telehealth platforms to get a GLP-1 or a medication like that, that there's like not a whole lot of communication.
Oh no, no,
What?
go, go. No, I when you're done, I just want to ask you a couple questions about these new products that you're offering because I think a lot of people don't know what a GLP-1 is or what a peptide does for you and how much of a game changer that could be in your life.
It's a great question. The reality is a GLP-1 is also a peptide. Peptides are like naturally occurring chains in our bodies, right? And so like just as we get older or certain people, depending on how the peptides are, like we're not recovering as well. We don't have the cellular turnover and all of these things, right? So kind of depending, the medications are all different. They're all like technically peptides, which are again, like naturally occurring chains, like amino chains in our bodies, which is really interesting. So, because it is kind of a crazy thing to be like, wow, people are injecting themselves with this medication. And I think a couple years ago when it started to gain a little more popularity and people were using GLP-1s, and GLP-1s exclusively are peptides that really just like kind of aid in they're like blood sugar regulation, digestion, kind of the processes of how that works in our body. And so, the GLP-1s, the brand names, I mean, they've been around for a long time, but they were exclusively for many years, they're just treating people that had diabetes because obviously the blood sugar regulation is the biggest issue. Their body wasn't regulating blood sugar as other people's bodies regulate blood sugar. So then you're injecting yourself with something to manage that, right? So it's helping your blood sugar. But of course, then they're finding out that in the sense of like kind of metabolic and digestion, that it's like slowing your digestive processes down, so and kind of helping you with anything like insulin resistance related, right? And so the byproduct of that they were finding, because it was only being prescribed for diabetic people originally, is that, and obviously not all diabetic people are having weight problems, right? There's different types of diabetes, so diabetes isn't only just related to obesity and things like that. But they were noticing the weight loss benefits. But that's frankly because, your blood sugar is regulated. You're not having dips. You're not having, sugar cravings. You're losing weight. Your diabetes symptoms from that type of diabetes are going away. And that was fascinating, right? And then I think that's where like Hollywood got into it for just straight weight loss purposes. But now the cool part for me is that, I started compounded terzepatide, frankly, to lose 10, 12, I don't know what my number was. I think it was 10 or 12 pounds postpartum. And there's like a lot of shame, I guess, in that. I've always been pretty transparent. Like I didn't feel a lot of shame, but I think that a lot of times women that are in that shame, like, because it's like, oh my gosh, I'm taking a drug to lose weight. Like, oh, because so many people out there say, and that's like feedback I've gotten from women too. A lot of doctors and a lot of people will be like, just eat better and exercise more. Like that's the reasoning. And I think the reality is a lot of us Okay, sure. Yeah, if I want to meal prep and weigh my food every day and exercise every day, maybe. But there's also some people that have tried that. A, it's not sustainable, right? B, it's like really tough and miserable to live that lifestyle unless that's like your passion and you're good at it and you're a bodybuilder. Like some people that comes really easily too, and they like to do that discipline. But those of us that are like working moms, it's like, no, I want to work out sometimes, but I also want to have weeks where I don't. And I want to be healthy and feel healthy and actually physically be healthy. But I also, it's like really hard at night if I'm hungry and I'm not making great
I
food
think that is the
choices.
great way to explain that. And something I tell my friends that ask me about it, um, I haven't, I think I've taken it once and I can speak by experience. It, like, as you said, like, I always tell them, it's like when you go bowling and you put the guards up. So
Yeah,
it's like a little helper
it
that
is.
mutes the food noise. So if
It
you can
makes
leave,
your journey it makes it easier. Exactly. I think
yeah,
that's a good analogy. It
like
makes it easier to attain.
it's a way that you can worry about something else instead of worrying about food, because like sometimes we just are constantly bombarded by snacking, by this, by that, and like I am a huge stress eater.
Speaking of, last night you munched on a lot of things I saw this morning. I feel like every morning's like what was the fairy tale where they were like leaving, was it Hansel and Gretel? Were they leaving like breadcrumbs along the way? Sometimes I wake up in the morning and I'm cleaning up your bedside table when you're sleeping with Remy and I'm like, wow, okay, so he had a baby bell at some point. He had a cheese. Then there was like a bowl of the cereal that you had brought us in bed. Then there was like the pretzels were out open. I was like, oh, friend
The
was
pretzels were
snacky. I
stale.
know, I threw them away, but it's so true because yeah, but like that's the deal, right? Like and also like maybe you don't have a lot of food noise. I wouldn't say that I've even been someone that struggled with eating disorders or food noise. It's just that I want to be fucking real about like my day to day. Like, can I work out reasonably, go on a walk with my weighted vest, work out 3 times a week at most, right? At the very most. Can I still sometimes like be presented with, for me, my problem became after having a kid when I'm making dinner or making Remy food and he's not eating it. Now, if I had more time, money, energy, I could plan out better food sometimes, right? Or like for myself. But it's really hard as a mom, I think, to prepare when like as a woman over 40, you want to be eating like a salad with protein, right? For a meal or two a day to be like in a calorie deficit, yet you're making your husband or your child quesadillas and the stuff that's like that they like that's good for them to eat. I just eat that food because it's there. And like I'm much more about convenience. And so I found it was like much harder postpartum and hormonal at 40 years old to lose that 10 or 12 pounds. I've never really struggled majorly with weight, but I think that's the problem is that a lot of women are like that, right? Like, sure, you may have more medical health reasons, like y'all have reached out and said for PCOS and PPMD and like all of these other things that I haven't dealt with that these medications are just doing wonders for.
What's those two things that you just mentioned? Because I have no idea.
Polycystic ovary syndrome is just, they're both very menstrual related for women. Like PPMD is where women get like, which I had to do a little research myself about PPMD because I was like, do I have PPMD? And so most men will probably think we all have PPMD, but PPMD is like a very severe level of like menstruation where you have really terrible side effects. And someone I was just speaking to about this said that her PPMD has been so bad all her life. She went on a GLP-1 compounded tirzepatide again to lose 10, 12 pounds and had heard rumblings that it was beneficial for women with PCOS and PPMD. Some of our customers have written me saying that their OB prescribed them this years ago just for PCOS. And so this is where you have horrific periods, whether it's like very heavy bleeding, very heavy symptoms, right? Which I usually have pretty heavy periods. I always used to think I might have had PCOS or something related to that, but I was never diagnosed with that. And PPMD often turns into psychological issues because your periods are so bad and your hormone imbalance is so severe. I'm sure there's a lot more to that, and I apologize. I'm not incredibly educated on PPMD until recently. I was reading more about it, hearing from people because I had no idea that was a benefit to one of the medications. But really fascinating. So she's gone off Prozac because she says a lot of times OBs just prescribe antidepressants for women that have severe PPMD. And they're like, antidepressant. But it's like, Yeah, antidepressants are wonderful and amazing. Like pharmaceutical medications are great, but I think antidepressants are not something that women like readily want to take unless you really are depressed and you really have to, and you hope that there's an end to that, right? She said for the first time in her life, she's been on Prozac like for years and years, and that in 3 months of compound tirzepatide microdosing, after she lost weight and was kind of on maintenance, she realized all those symptoms of her PPMD throughout her different cycles these last few months have gone away, and she's been able to start tailoring back on her Prozac. So to be able to like alleviate the need for an antidepressant because she doesn't have that inflammation, she doesn't have those issues. So I don't know. I mean, I don't know, but I mean, I know and I feel very confident that a lot of this more comprehensive wellness is like the way of the future, because I think there's just other ways. And I think that's what's so cool about being able to offer medications. Because I think as consumers, and I don't know about y'all, but I think you and I are very much this way. We're more cynical, which you may be cynical of me or whatever, but like I think that the beauty of chat and the internet and, just everything we have
It's
in the
just
world,
about anything that you can
we have
be more efficient.
but yes, but we have access to education that before we used to wait for our doctor or the pharmaceutical company to come out with a product to tell us like what we need. But I think now it's so fascinating that we're learning so much more about the human body and wellness, and it's all kind of coming together in a way that we're like empowered in a way that we can order these products with a doctor, like obviously going through your medical chart, like privately to make sure you're okay for these medications. But that it's just really life changing. Obviously, I feel very strongly about it. And no, you don't have to be on it forever. That's a very common question I get. I think going back to your analogy about bowling is what I was saying on a Q&A I did the other day is like, oh yeah, Jenna, okay, but if I do a weight loss med, like I have to stay on it forever. And it's not 100% accurate. I would say like it's kind of a 50-50 scenario there. Like if you don't have great habits and you don't utilize the time that you're on this medication to create better habits because it makes it easier to hit a strike with your habits, like you can make better choices because frankly, like even right now, like I'm drinking coffee and I just don't even want it. And usually I drink like 3 cups of coffee in the morning with my Coffee Mate and Splenda. And it's like everything you just don't want it. And you
It
almost
makes
have to remind
sense.
yourself. And so what's so cool about that is like it allows you to, because you don't care as much about food. So it allows you to make better decisions. It's a lot easier to say no. And just that slight, like having one less cup of coffee with creamer, one or two less glasses of wine a night. Just those small tweaks, like weight falls off of you. And of course, it's not just the weight, but you feel better because you're not eating sugar, you don't have the inflammation. And then you actually surprisingly you're like, wait, I'm eating like 3/4 or half as much as I normally do. And I feel better than I used to. Like I wake up and I have more energy. Like I'm actually like having energy. I took a shot 4 days ago and a microdose, and I don't have any bad side effects. I've kind of learned how to manage that because that is something to address. Like when you first start, you can feel very, very sick for a couple of days and it's brutal. And I just like to be honest about that. Not everyone goes through that. But once you kind of find the right dose for yourself, I still eat, but I'm not like that hungry. I have to kind of remind myself to eat. And it also kind of allows you to make a better routine for yourself and make better decisions. So if you do that in the duration of your treatment, and you start to implement like I am gonna Monday, Wednesday, Friday wake up and go on a walk or a workout after work or whatever it is. And I'm gonna, start to find some recipes that are easy to make, that I like, that are still full of protein and fiber. And you continue that, you can keep the weight off, or you can go back to kind of microdosing over time. Sorry. So anyway, I don't know. There's just a lot of interesting.
But it makes sense. Like it makes sense if you are wise about how to use that time that you have those training wheels or those guards. Once you're off, you can keep going straight with your own path.
It will make your partner mad because if you're not both taking it, and like sometimes when I would take it, he'd be like, do you want ice cream? Do you want this? Like kind of when we get snacky at night. And I'm like,
No, we're
no.
ready to have an infomercial because she doesn't eat anything and I snack all the pantry at night. And and that's what happens when you're in it and when you're not. So it's exactly a good analogy. So, but yes, like if you have the capability to learn the way that your body and your metabolism work, you might be able to be off and just do it
I went off for a year and I lost too much weight when I first took it for sure. You were like, oh, you're so
And
skinny.
that is a huge risk, I think, not also to address. Like you have to have a limit, like
Yeah.
because
You see people like get really carried away with losing weight. But I think if you have a healthy mindset about what your goals are and you just want to feel better and you just want you want some of your health issues to go away and you're a good fit for it or you're happy and you're comfortable at your current weight, like there's no pressure here. Like this is just an opportunity for people that, want something to help, like a tool. It's really can just be used as a tool to kind of achieve some of those goals, right?
and I think that's also really accurate. Like it's not about weight, it's about health.
Yeah.
If you're healthy, doesn't matter how much you weigh. If you are happy, doesn't matter how much you weigh or what your ritual is. But if you feel that you're lacking energy, that you feel sluggish, it's time to make some tweaks.
And that's why it was important to me from a comprehensive perspective that it wasn't just a GLP-1. Now I know that's most popular with a lot of us. But that's why, NAD, for instance, is like a great example. So NAD is really a completely different kind of medication in a way that it really doesn't affect your weight as much. I think that if you are on a leaner side and you're taking an AD, there's a lot of things that tie into this, right? Like you're going to have more energy when you take an AD because NAD's main purpose is it's like they call it like the fountain of youth because it's helping you feel like we did and we don't remember because we took it for granted, but like you did when you were 20, when you could like your hangover wasn't bad. You could work out and, go on a run and not be sore. And just from like a recovery perspective, if you've been injured, a lot of people these days, I found out that when you're getting major surgery, that they'll actually give you NAD injections after your surgery to take it home because it helps your cellular turnover and recovery. So if you get like a major surgery, that a lot of doctors are giving NAD as like a prescription after to help you with, maybe you had like full blown
But
knee
that is like the
construction and
future. Like
it is.
that is like going to what is going to improve from a cellular level, not just what it's going to mask it. Like back then, you finished the knee surgery, and they'll give you a bunch of pain meds full with opioids
Yeah.
and a lot of naproxens that will help your inflammation, but nothing that will help you
Your
from the
body.
cellular level.
It's really, really fascinating. I encourage you, as I'm sure we'll talk about this a lot on and off. If you have any questions we can address, we always like to share life and business. And I've been like head down in this for a few weeks as we're working out kinks. I know we've had a few like little issues here and there with orders, nothing major, but just from the back end of like, we're partnering with a telehealth provider and all these doctors. So there's like a workflow that we have to meet with them like all the time and meet with the doctors. I've requested, I want the doctors that have good bedside manner, that are going to be responsive, that have availability for virtual appointments. So thanks for the patience with the first few orders, but things are going really well. So we're excited. We haven't even really fully, rolled it out to everyone yet. But I've always said like keeping our true like customers like y'all that have either shopped with Fitish before or listened to this podcast. It's like, I feel that customers like you tend to be, it's like the best, right? The best for you to have access to it first because you know the intention, you are the most forgiving. If there's a little hiccup with like billing or something small like that happens, and you give me such great feedback on how to do it. So in reality, you're kind of helping us build the future of this. And I think it's super cool because at the end of the day, I want to offer women that are, I know that so many of you are just like me. You feel like me, you're my age, you've had a kid, or even if you had kids many years ago, you're not feeling any younger, I'm sure. And it's like, wow, how am I 40? I want to feel good for my child, being like a bit of an older mom. I want to feel good. I want to live longer and whatever that means, but I want to just feel as good as I can, but with reasonable terms, like terms that fit in my life. And I think that's something that's really hard for people to admit because we are inundated with content all day long of like, sure, a lot of this biohacking, but also the men that are like, this is my morning routine. And it's like, ice bath, workout at 5 a.m. And granted, I think that is all so admirable and so awesome. And if you have made that a habit in your life to work out at 5 a.m. every day, I've been there before. Fran goes in and out of that like real rigorous, like regimented schedule. And I think him and I both know when we do it, we feel amazing and we do feel a lot better. But it's just so like not attainable for so many of us consistently. It's really hard. So it's like what finish has always been for me, like what is the happy medium that we can still feel and look our best without like killing ourselves to get there, and something that you can be forgiven if you don't work out for a couple of weeks because because you have a life that just it doesn't fit
And
in.
priorities just start changing. Like I
Yeah.
used to wake up at 5 every day to work out. I've never had like a cold plunge routine at 5 a.m., but I did a lot. Like, and then we had a kid,
Yeah.
and the priorities were family, work, and then workout and all the other stuff. And right now, when you're in a crunch with time, then you cannot fit everything, because I much rather be with my kid than
I know.
being in a gym at 5 a.m. There's other things that could help you stay in track.
Yeah.
And even if you're doing the routines, you can improve those routines with this type of medication.
Well, I know. This is just all really exciting, and I know it's scary for a lot of people because there's this barrier too of like injection, right? It's like, wow, if you've never injected medicine. For me, it became more normalized doing IVF because, oh my gosh, how many shots did I end up doing? I think you have a lot of them still. You were going to make a piece of art with them. I don't know the exact number. We calculated it one day and it was like, I mean, it was
Well, I
hundreds and
have around
hundreds.
175 needles.
It was so many injections, and then more than that with everything else, right? So it was so many shots. And so for me, like, not that I love needles, I wouldn't go that far, but it became much more normalized. And if you're scared, we have oral versions of GLP-1 and an NAD nose spray, because I do understand that that is a huge hurdle to get over if you're really scared of needles. Now, I will say the needles are like the smallest,
Like
easiest,
insulin,
like smaller than even, it's almost like the
subcutaneous, not in
Botox.
the muscle.
Yeah. So it's doable, but it's scary. I get that. So we do have some oral versions of it, which, they say are just as good. They're actually oral dissolving tablets you put under your tongue twice a day.
Oh, wow.
So it's not like a pill that you swallow. It's a tablet you put under your tongue in the morning and in the evening, depending on your dosing, and like rather flavorless. And, yeah, it's just like a little white dissolving tablet that you would do. Now, I have heard that they work. My opinion is that nothing is more bioavailable than an injection, especially because there's some studies that are showing, like, depending on where you're injecting the GLP-1, like people have started shifting their spots. Because I always do it around my belly button and my stomach, just because that's where I'm used to like self-injecting, and I have more fat there. But that sometimes it can be like slightly targeted. People are under the impression that if like they have like very fat arms and they want to like really focus it there, that it will actually like activate there more. I don't know if I believe this because I don't think there's been enough like actual medical studies on it, but people are saying they've like sometimes people do it in their legs and their butt, and they say they notice more of a difference there. But my interpretation of these medications are that it's actually more regulating like your blood sugar, than it is like targeting, it's not dissolving fat in that exact spot. And for me, I notice the weight loss in my stomach the most because that's where I tend to carry like my fat. Everyone's so different. It's like,
I
some
think
girls, when they gain weight, they gain it all in their butt. And I'm like, I would love that to be the spot that I gained my weight
same.
in the ghost butt. But like for me, it's stomach. So it was like, I never thought I could have a flat stomach. And
But
then I did that. And I was like, oh yeah, this is why. It's because
it's
I'm not
because you're
eating so,
injecting in your stomach.
maybe. I
So,
don't know.
something I'm 100% a believer is that your mind is the strongest thing that you have. And if you believe that if you inject it in your arm because you have fat
Oh, I
arms,
see where you're getting.
it'll slim out your arm, it will
I
happen.
was about to say, no, my stomach is definitely stronger than my mind's willpower. Like at night, if I'm hungry,
Correct.
it's hard to say no. But I'm excited. I hope y'all explore. And please, by the way, like, do your own thing. Like, get online, like, look at other companies, look at other sites, and research the medication. And, you always want to do what you feel comfortable with. I just wanted to offer an opportunity for so many people I know to have just like transparency and like pricing and pharmacies, and like get a telehealth appointment with a doctor from your home when it's convenient for you, and hopefully roll out even more education for some of your questions about the medications. Because here I am thinking everyone kind of knew what this stuff was because I've been in it for a couple of years, and then I realized that a lot of people they like have heard of it, but it's still like, what? I don't know about that.
Yeah, well, I think that's what they need, a lot more education and just keep like teaching them, enlightening them with what this does to you because there's a lot of taboos around it, you
Oh,
know?
you'll have to see my before and after. I need to put it up on the YouTube video. I'll post it. I have like a crazy before. I showed you, and I almost couldn't
Yeah.
believe how I looked when I started versus like really it was almost like a 6, 8 week like transformation at that point. Like how I went from this to this, like in a pretty short period of time when I first started. And I was like, wait, wow. I didn't even know. I was walking with my 16 pound, my 8 kilo walking vest the other day, and it dawned on me that that's like the exact amount of weight I lost originally from my like year postpartum to my first few months on the compounded tirzepatide. I actually think I lost closer to 20 pounds, but like I kind of averaged around 16. And I was thinking when walking with that walking vest, which felt so heavy, thinking like, I know 16 pounds doesn't seem like that much,
You know that
but
16 pounds, it's somewhere around 70 to 80 pounds of weight that you take off your ankles, of your ankles.
your uncles, yeah,
Like, so it is very meaningful
it is. Yeah, for your joints and
for
stuff.
your
Yeah.
joint, like for the everyday walking, you put so much stress. It's like walking on a stiletto. Like the pointy part
Yeah.
carries like around
And
15
think
pounds of
about how
weight,
many of us
1,500
women,
pounds of weight.
think about us women postpartum too. So when you're carrying, whatever that is for most of us, and it takes a while for most of us to lose, if ever, I mean, I have my like right hand with Fiddish. She's so amazing. Had, she has 3 kids, but 2 pretty back to back. And, after in between 2 and 3, like she didn't, get back to her original. And that's always like a slippery slope because everyone always says, like, if you don't get back before you get pregnant again, which the reality is that happens to like almost every woman, I bet, that has consecutive children, that she's really struggled. So she's so excited because she just finished breastfeeding and she's a year postpartum and she is going back on this journey because she did it before she started getting pregnant again and was like, oh my gosh, it was amazing. But then I got pregnant again, so I couldn't take it. So I'm excited to see her journey because she has a bit more weight she wants to lose. But I was thinking like, not only was I 16 pounds, 20 pounds heavier than kind of where I wanted to be, but you're also carrying a giant kid around too. So like you have so much weight, extra weight that your frame, I mean, I'm 5'5", that my body wasn't used to, so you have sciatica and you have like knee pain and even for me, like I used to be an athlete and I never had like a problem with my weight. I was never skinny, but I've never had like a weight problem. But then to be postpartum, you don't feel like yourself as a woman. You do not recognize when you look in the mirror, not just because of the weight, but everything, right? Like your hips are bigger and there's beauty in it in a way. And everyone tells you it's
Of
so
course.
beautiful. And there is. And like, I actually didn't care. I didn't care that much for a while. But at some point, it's like you're putting on your old workout clothes and your old clothes don't fit and everyone's like, oh, but you just had a baby. And then it's like, yeah, a year and a half ago, and like I don't recognize my face
He's
and
in
I
college and
and yeah. But yeah, there's so much of that, right? So anyway, I'm excited about everything we're gonna do.
yeah, congratulations.
We'll see.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean it's a big venture, but I hope that it
Well,
can
just
be
remember,
what.
nothing feels as
No,
good
don't.
as our audience being happy
Nothing tastes as
as
good as our audience being happy
feels.
feels.
Yeah,
Very
yeah,
good
exactly.
change there. Yeah, I'm sorry about him, y'all. He'll get
Just
the memo.
DM me. Just say, hey, go fuck yourself.
Yeah, like next time I'm happy to PR play this and like I mean I threw you under the bus to her. Immediately I got on there. I was like, you're absolutely right. Like that was cavalier and
But don't
insensitive.
go to the manager. Come straight to me. Talk to me.
I was
At
like,
Francisco Rizzo underscore.
I was like, he needs to beat it. I agree. I mean, I also said you were kidding
Text
because
me. A
you're
quick
just
Google
like,
away you can find my phone.
you just sit down and start yapping, and I have like a little more scientific like knowledge behind what I'm doing, obviously, because we've been working on it for a while,
I'm just
but
talking like candidly. Like I have no facts.
people know that, but there's also an element of like, I totally empathize and understand because hormones and weight and it's our life. I mean, as a woman, like it's what we deal with every day. And I mean, some way more than others. And I think it can be very hard to have empathy from the female, for a female as a man who's maybe grown up and had a lot of weight problems, because I mean, you carry a lot of that trauma with you, depending on things that have happened in your life. It becomes so much more about weight at some point too. It's like so physical and mental and everything about that trauma of like growing. If you were tormented growing up and being overweight, I mean, that's just like, it's just really rough, and understandably, and point is, I'm just thrilled to be able to offer that. And I frankly, my goal, so y'all know, and I don't know if I'll achieve it, we can all make goals, is to then really start offering more complementary services around the medications as well, because I think it's a comprehensive thing. It's about, if we can introduce therapy appointments, if we can introduce, nutritional guidance, and I mean, real, not just like here's some recipes, but like, some real other offerings to really complement your wellness journey. But to finish this, like, this is the future of wellness, and there's no doubt in my mind about this. Like, this will take over the world. We've already seen it affecting really big companies with kind of the foods they're making, because so many people are on these medications, and it's so much more than just like a quick weight loss fix. It's so much more than that, and it's really exciting. Stuff with tumors and like crazy stuff that I can't even really speak to because I'm not going to go there medically, but
Yeah,
just
you
some
have
really.
all these huge brands taking dice off their food, which is amazing. And then you have ice cream companies making breast milk flavor ice cream, which I don't know what type of target they're looking for. But you see that people are making tangible changes to create a better environment.
That was just PR, no? Wasn't that Frida? Isn't that the baby company that's doing that?
No idea.
Like as a joke? Oh, so you're like the typical, like you saw the headline, but you didn't like poke in to see what was actually going on?
I wasn't all that interested, but it caught my attention, like breast milk flavor ice cream. It's like, I didn't like it straight from the teat. I'm not gonna like it in ice cream form.
You did try it, didn't you?
Yeah, I did try it.
How was it?
Sweet. Too
Yeah.
sweet.
Too sweet.
Too sweet.
Yeah.
Well, I don't like milk in general. But
I've started to like oat milk more than I used to because it's so thick. And I had a bowl of cereal the other day with oat milk, and I was like, wow, like oat milk she's thick, thick.
yeah, you sure it wasn't expired? But
No. No, the alternative milks last a bit longer in terms of expiration than like I think your milk that you buy at the store. I mean, I haven't had real milk unless it was accidentally in so long. Tummy don't like. Tummy don't like many things like that. Yeah, me tummy, no likey, real
well,
milk.
your tummy has done well with Mexico, so
How about that?
yeah.
I've been pretty good. Like as an official temporary resident or whatever I'm called right now of Mexico. Yeah, I've done pretty good. So, um, another question, kind of moving into another question that we've gotten about Mexico, is people in the United States seeing like get out tourists, like that kind of behavior that you're also seeing happen in Europe right now. And I thought we could speak to that briefly before we go today, because there's a lot of people that have written me like, hey, I'm coming. Is that cool? And I think that, I mean, briefly, like, yes, like to shortly answer the question, yes, it's fine. There's a lot more to that than there appears to be. As with anything else, Fran and I, we were talking about it a bit. It was interesting to talk with like Mexicans who live here, or Fran, being from here and lives here, and your parents as well. Most all of the shared opinion from me asking, like, for instance, my other mom friends here that are Mexican, that have lived in Mexico City for a while, they do not share that sentiment that's being portrayed. Like most people here
And that's something I've like explained to many people. Like,
you get this question a lot about like real
yes,
estate
I
and
think
about, yeah.
this is orchestrated by our government in order to gain more control on rent control on certain areas. So it's not like we love to have anybody and everybody here in Mexico, and that's why that's how we are known for, like that's something really cool that happens
You love to
when
share your
you're
culture.
Mexican and travel around the world, because they embrace you because we embrace them. And that is super cool. We do not share those feelings. I think it's very important, and that this is something very important. It's very important to follow certain guidelines, like be part of the community, learn the language. Don't expect everybody just to speak English. Like, it's just being reciprocate with this country.
I think that's such a good point. I I think as Americans, I want to speak for Americans without, I may offend some Americans with what I'm about to say, but I have now the perspective I've gotten, which I always had a touch of and always felt a little ashamed of as an American, and kind of the way Americans are now perceived across the world. And I think the root of politics aside, the reason Americans are perceived a certain way in Europe and here and anywhere else, it's not that people don't like us, right? It's that ignorance of like, we don't know other languages, and we don't tend to embrace other cultures beyond the tourism level that other cultures try to learn other cultures. And I think that for me has been really glaringly obvious here. You even see that as an American when you travel. Everywhere in the world speaks English. Everywhere. But I'm talking, they learn English in school to a level that their entire schooling is in English, not 1 hour a day of Spanish or French. It's like, and that's the only way for kids to become bi and trilingual. And the fact that we don't prioritize that in the United States to be learning other languages more than we already do, it's a shame, right? Because like, how amazing for those of you that grew up bilingual. What an asset to have in life, and how cultured you are because of it to go other places and learn another and be able to speak the language. So, and I think then again, other countries have catered to Americans so much because we have such a big tourism sector going other places, and so many other areas, especially beach towns in Mexico, are like built off American tourism, that like everyone there speaks English, right? And so it's like, menus are in English, everyone's in English, and so you're going to Mexico, but you're still living kind of the American life.
But English is a pretty universal language at this point. Like,
yes, but I was only saying that to say that being in Mexico City, if you speak English, it's fine. Like, it is okay, but it's kind of that attitude of like, getting frustrated.
If you're here, you have to learn the language.
Living. If you want to move to Mexico, my experience, y'all, I felt it's been one of the more daunting things of my life. It's been like a goal of mine, but I've yet never been able to find the time, or I'm very impatient as a person. I'm not learning Spanish fluently fast enough. And those of you that have followed my journey, you see like I'm taking, I canceled my lessons this week. I have too much shit going on with work. But for the last like month and a half, I've taken 2 lessons a week, and I'm utilizing it. I'm living here, so I'm able to utilize it. So that's an asset. But like, my life has gotten so much better here that now I'm kind of able to get around. Conversation is still difficult, but like with some, people that we have like working with our family, or like with some of my mom friends, and just in moments at the grocery store, I always do Spanish first. So, and if I don't know, I translate it and show it to someone, but I try to not go English at all as much as I can handle it. And my life, it's taken now, I don't want to say a year, because Todos Santos was different. Like, that was still I didn't have an opportunity to learn and speak as much Spanish because everyone there that we were meeting was like English speaking. But being in Mexico City is obviously like a much more authentic Mexico experience for me. And so I don't want to say that my timeline was like, I've been in Mexico for over a year now, even though I have. I think I really started with my Spanish journey more like in September, October. So my goal was like, can I be fluent in a year? I don't think so. Maybe 2 years. But point is, my life has actually gotten so much better. I think that's so important, because you see people that live here that are like, nah, I'm not going to learn Spanish. And I'm kind of like, why? It's beautiful and it's cool. Like, I don't know. It's just always been such a thing for me. Like, I want to participate and I want to learn. I don't know. It's just, for me, I guess other people just, we're not the same, but like I do. So going back to that, I made the analogy about like, I don't know what y'all's thoughts are sometimes on some of these peaceful protests that happen in the United States. And, I have differing opinions on certain things, but I have found that I didn't realize, but I guess as you get older and more cynical, that, whether it's like a Black Lives Matter protest, or a lot of these protests that happen for very good causes, turn violent, right? And I think what we've seen is, and I don't know if you feel the same way, but that a lot of times those are intentionally turned violent politically to take away from the message.
To make
right?
a point.
Yeah, to make a point, to make it so the PR of it becomes like, oh, yikes, this Black Lives Matter protest turned into like burning down businesses and like flipping over cars. And I don't think that was really, that wasn't the point of that. That wasn't the intent. It was supposed to be a peaceful protest to bring awareness to a cause. And I think that that's a lot of what's happening here as well, that like the government pays people to do this because they're like trashing their own businesses that are catering to Americans. And I don't see any of that, just for the record. So, I mean, I'm not saying that it doesn't happen, but I think it's like a very organized thing to get some press and get some pictures and put it out in the media. Just as you see a lot of the cartel violence stuff in the United States. A lot of people send me that, like, I'm so scared. And it's like, I have not experienced that here. I'm not saying that it doesn't. I mean, it does happen, and the violence in some of these other towns is pretty severe, and they're on curfew. But I have an interesting story, by the way. My mom told me. She had a friend visiting from Dallas, visiting family. 4 hours north of here is where they were. So a smaller town that's really affected right now by cartels, just like running the town. And, but the fascinating, I don't know if this is fascinating. It's fascinating to me as like an American because I haven't been in a town like that where I've noticed that. And, I mean, obviously we're living in like the biggest city in this country, but this is a thing, right? Like there is obviously cartel violence. However, like most of the general public is really not affected by it, so much so that she said that this is where her family lives. And so the cartel kind of runs the whole town, right? And so there's a curfew and they take money from businesses. Like if you want to be operating a business, they are going around like with the cab drivers and the businesses, you have to pay your fee, you know? However, they went out for a wedding and they were missing the curfew and they were like escorted home by like very much so like what was probably, I mean, not guys in masks, but like, you know, cause like I think cartels like oftentimes much more, like sophisticated in a way than people probably think. And at times it's not. But anyway, I just thought it was fascinating because she was like, I never once felt in danger. I mean, I think the problem is if you're trying to mess with business and you're trying to do stuff, I mean, it doesn't take away from the fact that it's still terrible and a lot of young people are being drawn into it. But on a day-to-day basis, like I wouldn't say it's like this active moment where I'm in the city and I'm like worried that like, you know what I mean? That I'm like going to be crossed by like something cartel related, you know, it's a huge problem in this country. But it's not affecting like tourism and children and, you know, they're not going into schools and things like that is the point of that. You know, she said she was I mean, she's Mexican and she was like taken aback because she was like, wow, so there's a curfew and all of this, but like, they're all very nice. I was like, well, I'm sure they're not nice to each other, you know what I mean, on that level, but it was an interesting story, you know,
Wow.
and this is happening in smaller towns.
That's crazy. Yeah, like there's a lot of that. I think it's getting very interesting to see how things are shifting because I do believe that there's many things that this government in the US have done, in my opinion, wrong. But the way that they've tightened the vigilance on fentanyl,
yeah, sure,
has been very positive because
in the United States,
the United States and in Mexico, you see that there's a struggle. So that is a good thing. We'll see where it goes, and hopefully it stays positive.
If you all have any questions about living abroad, Fetish RX, life and parenting, anything else you want us to talk about, let us know. Send us a DM. I think that's the best way.
Yeah, I'm working on a little page that you have all the resources if you want to come in, like from legal to, and it's non-profit, so it'll be very good for you if you're thinking about it. Go there, you will see, you'll find places where you can leave any immigration because it's very important. You will need to have a permit to come to Mexico, I think, starting really soon. Like you will have to go on a website and get like a micro visa, which will be it'll be issued to you with no.
That's just for tourism, or if you really
tourism.
Want to come. Oh wow, okay.
Tourism, and if you want to do any business, if you want to buy property, you will have to get your Mexican residency, and it's also a really easy process. And all of it was going to be outlined there. And the reason I'm doing this is because they're shifting regulations, and I wanted to stay on it.
So you and I are hearing this news for the first time together in this moment. So we should talk about that after of what I need to take care of as well.
Yeah, so okay. I think it started this month. So I'll keep you all posted.
Awesome. All right, y'all. Thanks for tuning in today, and we'll see you next week. Bye.